What's up, everybody? GeauxBurns with a Mafia update. We're going to check this out. It's actually pretty cool. Mafia posted it on Twitter and Facebook today. And they've been still posting some stuff as well, some more viral marketing. But I haven't really been covering it. But what I will be covering, because I'm not abandoning Mafia 3, even though I do focus on other games like Grand Theft Auto Online, Red Dead Redemption 2, anything Batman, obviously. Whenever there's going to be a new update to Mafia 3, whether it's the next free update, whenever that comes out, it's supposed to be about car customization and races. I will definitely do a video about that. And also the Mafia 3 expansions, which will hopefully be coming sometime in the next month or so. So I have not abandoned Mafia 3 to all my Mafia 3 subscribers. It's just that there's very little to post about regarding Mafia 3. So I hope you can understand. But anyways, let's check out this awesome graphic that was posted earlier. And I have it linked below in the description section for you guys to check out as well. By the way, I am going to be doing a new Q&A 21.0. And you have till the end of the day to submit your questions, or a day or two, okay? I might be lenient and give you guys 2 days. I don't know when I'm going to post Q&A 21.0, and maybe this week and maybe next week, but it's been a while since I've done a Q&A. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me regarding Mafia, Grand Theft Auto, other games I play, gaming in general, advice, etc., feel free and either leave it below in the comment section, or you can tweet it to me, Facebook it my way, and you can always email me, GeauxBurns@gmail.com. With that out of the way, let's check out this awesome graphic, which is, once again, linked below in the description section. I think it's really cool because it covers the entire Mafia series from start to finish. That's one thing I like about it. So it starts off at the very top with the original Mafia game, City of Lost Heaven. And it talks about the 3 main families. The Papone family, the Soleri family, and of course the Morello family. Now what's interesting is both of these families spawned out of this family from, Don Papone. These were his 2 top guys, Soleri and Morello. They used to be best friends, but then they had issues and they went their separate ways, and they took their lieutenants with them. And so over here you have the Soleri family. Now this is the family that you end up working for in Mafia, the City of Lost Heaven. You have Frank, you have Sam, then of course down here you have Thomas Angelo, also known as Tommy Angelo. He is the protagonist of the original Mafia game. He also makes a very brief cameo in Mafia II, FYI. And if you want to see that cameo, you can check out my Mafia II Let's Play series. That's all I'm going to say. But anyways, some of his best friend was Paulie. And these are some of the other guys that worked for the Soleri crime family in the City of Lost Heaven. So I'm glad that Lost Heaven is in the background, because it was the city featured in the original Mafia game, which was set in the 1930s. Loosely based on Chicago during the Prohibition era. And that was one thing I had issue with in Mafia 3, was there was no mention of Lost Heaven. There was a few mentions of Empire Bay, but none whatsoever of Lost Heaven, at least not from what I heard. But anyways, the enemy of the first Mafia game was initially the Morello crime family. And of course you have Don Morello, who once was Soleri's best friend over here in the Papone family before they split off and they formed their own factions, trying to take control of everything going on in Lost Heaven. And then along with Don Morello, I believe that's his brother that split off with him, along with Joey and everyone else as well. And it also shows you whether or not they're still alive, or deceased, or imprisoned. So I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens to them, but you can see which ones are deceased. You can see which ones have been imprisoned. And some of them, maybe by 1968 in Mafia 3, some of these are probably deceased as well. But by the end of the original Mafia game, yeah, okay, so that's pretty much just a little heads up regarding these little things on the side. The yellow ones indicate, imprisoned. These, deceased. All right, so let's move on to Empire Bay from Mafia II, which came out in 2010, which is considered to be the most popular of the series because it was on the last-gen console, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. I think there was a PC version as well. But the popularity of the original Mafia game is not so much because it was really pop. It came out originally on PC in 2002, and that port was very good. But then it came out a couple years later on, I think, Xbox One and PlayStation 2, and it wasn't very good, to be honest. It just, for some reason, it just didn't work right. And so it's obviously the least known of the Mafia franchises. And even though I bitched about all these remasters coming out lately in one of my remaster rants a couple weeks ago, I would still very much like to see a remaster of Mafia. To a certain extent, I like remasters. It's just that sometimes I feel like they're not necessary. But I would say that maybe in the case of the original Mafia game, yeah, I think a remaster probably would be very fitting. With the same voice actors and, same story, plot, everything. I just think it needs to be a little bit of a cleaned up, upgraded a little bit, and re-released. I would definitely purchase that if they came out with a remastered edition of the original Mafia. But back to Mafia 2, okay? So there are 4 families in, well, technically 3 families. This is something we're not going to even talk about because this is kind of like an alternative universe family over here. It's a little ridiculous. So it's set around Jimmy's Vendetta and Jimmy's Revenge. So yeah, it's kind of like Empire Bay alternative universe over here. So you kind of have to ignore this, the Gervani family. But these are the 3 main families in Empire Bay and Mafia 2. You have the oldest family, which is the Vinci family, headed by Frank Vinci. Then, of course, you have the Falcone family, which is the most ambitious, headed by Carlo Falcone. And, of course, you have the Clemente family, headed by Alberto Clemente. And at the beginning of the game, your best friend Joe, of course, you play as Vito Scaletta, which is, he's over here. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So Vito Scaletta is the protagonist of Mafia 2. And whenever he returns from World War II, his best friend Joe Barbaro, who currently is unknown, see, he's not deceased, he's not imprisoned. According to this, he's currently unknown about whether or not he's still alive. I guess you have to play Mafia 3 in order to find out. But anyways, initially, Joe Barbaro is part of the Clemente crime family. But after Vito goes to prison, Joe has a falling out with Luca and Alberto, and that's explained in Joe's Adventure, the DLC that came out with Mafia 2. It was the better DLC, unlike the Jimmy DLCs, which weren't as good. So anyways, by the time Vito gets out of prison, Joe should be over here. They should also have an image of Joe over here, indicating that he was also in the Falcone crime family. And you probably would put him up here somewhere because he was above Henry, because Henry was one of their other friends. Henry was also in the Clemente crime family, so I don't know why Clemente is not over here as well. So eventually, something happens to Clemente. Not going to spoil anything, but you could probably guess by the deceased buttons for him and Luca. And eventually, it's Joe Barbaro over here, Vito over here, and, of course, Hank comes from over here to over here. Well, Hank, Henry, same thing. Well, we call him Henry. But anyway, so those 3 pals end up over here under the Carlo Falcone family. Obviously, something happens to Henry. No surprise. And then eventually, something happens to Falcone. And then that's when, Vito's, mentor, Leo Galante, who is the kind of like the right-hand man of Frank Vinci, his consigliere, basically takes him under his wing while he's in prison and shows him the ropes. And Vito saves Leo's life, whenever they get out of prison. And then eventually Vito gets into a spot of bother, and Leo returns the favor and saves his life. And as a result, Vito has to go into hiding. He's basically persona non grata to Empire Bay. He's banished from his home city. And Empire Bay is loosely based on New York City. And of course, he has to leave his sister behind, and he has to leave his home city behind, and he ends up moving down to New Bordeaux. And now here we are in Mafia 3 with, first off, there's only one family at the beginning of Mafia 3, and that was the Sal Marcano crime family. And that's the family that Vito was initially under. So eventually Sal Marcano, who is in charge of everything, along with his brothers, which includes Lou Marcano, Tommy Marcano, and of course his sister-in-law, who was married to one of his deceased brothers, Olivia Marcano, along with his son Georgie Marcano. They basically ran New Bordeaux along with all their lieutenants like Tony, Frank, the Butcher, and of course you had Thomas Burke, part of this faction as well. But eventually he had a falling out with Marcano, and he's going to end up over here along with Vito. Okay, so they end up over here. And anyway, so what happens is, in the events of Mafia 3, as most of you know, the heist goes pretty well, but then Sal Marcano, insulted by the fact that Lincoln Clay refused to betray Sammy and take over the Black Mob, Sal decides that he has to deal with all the members of the Black Mob, which include Lincoln, Sammy Robinson, and Sammy's son, Ellis. Now, Sammy Robinson is an adopted father of Lincoln Clay, which makes Lincoln and Ellis brothers as well. Well, adopted brothers, but they still, have a camaraderie, blood, thicker than water and that sort of thing. They consider themselves to be family. Anyways, so Vito eventually joins Lincoln's crime family because Sal Marcano tries to take Vito out, and he also tries to take Burke out. So naturally, these two end up over here joining the Lincoln Clay crime family. And anyways, along with Cassandra, leader of the Haitians, along with her crew, Burke's crew, which includes his daughter, his son. Well, something happens to his son. I won't talk about that. I'm trying not to spoil Mafia 3 for all of you that haven't watched or played Mafia 3. By the way, I did do a Let's Play Mafia 3 as well. So anyways, that's pretty much what happens. You have, once upon a time, Sal Marcano and his brothers, along with Olivia and his son. They used to control New Bordeaux, but then they try to take out the Black Mob following a heist at the Federal Reserve, which leaves Sammy and Ellis dead. And, of course, Lincoln, he wasn't dead, but he was nearly killed. And so he comes back from the dead, and because of the fact he has training from Vietnam, a lot of that was special ops, along with his CIA partner and friend, John Donovan. They team up and they start plotting to bring down the Sal Marcano crime family, and they recruit Cassandra, Thomas, and Vito to help them do that. And that's pretty much it. All these other lieutenants as well. So that's a pretty cool looking graphic showing you all the various families that were involved in the Mafia series from the very beginning. The original Mafia game, Mafia City of Lost Heaven, Mafia II, and of course Mafia 3. Once again, it is linked below in the description section. And once again, like I said at the beginning of the video, whenever there's a new update, a new patch for Mafia 3, I will definitely cover it. It's not that I've abandoned Mafia 3. It's just like I said, there's really nothing Mafia 3 going on right now. So once the next free update comes out, whenever we get news about the expansions, or if there is some patches that come out somewhere down the road, even though the latest patch did fix a lot of the issues in Mafia 3, which I applaud Hangar 13 for, because yeah, it wasn't exactly perfect when it came out on launch day. But anyways, it's a lot better now. So anyways, if you guys have any questions, like I mentioned, for Q&A 21.0, be sure and leave those below in the comment section.